Got 152 yards. Should be just a nice, comfortable 9-iron for him. They're going to go nuts when he hits this thing.
That's dirt.
Yo. Welcome in, golf fans. This is the Preferred Lines podcast. My name is Joe Idoni. At Tour Picks is the place to find me over on X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it. I'm your grateful host for tonight, and we are ready. We are going to wrap up Waste Management Phoenix Open. We're going to get right into talking Torrey. We're going back out to Torrey Pines this week for the second time in a month. I'm super pumped up to talk about it. Over the course of the next hour, we are going to discuss some quick hitters. We're going to give you an in-depth preview of the course specs and what to expect historically from a data perspective, proven metrics for success out on the Torrey Pines South course, as well as I'm going to give you some inside scoop to the top 10 in my model over at the Rabbit Hole this week. Finally, what you're all here for, we're going to dish out some picks to win over at Torrey Pines. Before we get started tonight, got to mention, once again, honored to have the support of the presenting sponsor that you will see below, the good folks over at Rotoballer. My article is up now. It's 100% free. You should go read it. You should go click it. Even if you don't want to read it, go click it. Helps me out, lets them know that people are interested in top 10 power rankings for the Genesis. Didn't do anything too crazy this week, but got a few guys sprinkled in there, maybe a little mishmash of what you see on the odds board, with insights on each and every player that are within my top 10. Shout out to the people over at Rotoballer. The promo code you want to use if you're interested in getting access to all the premium stuff, including my Market Movers piece, including the Discord channel, including Spencer Aguiar's ridiculous amount of work that he puts into his wizards and models each and every week. Full access to the site. Use the promo code LINES to get 10% off any weekly, monthly, or annual sub over at Rotoballer. Good folks over there for supporting the show. Thank you to them. It is always a pleasure. Ted, it's great to see you too. Joanne, welcome back. It's nice to have you on Monday. I was going to reach out the other day. I know you mentioned a couple of weeks ago you were in the hospital. So genuinely hope for you that everything is better. Good to see you tonight. I'm glad to see your name in the chat. Anyone else who's here, make sure to subscribe to the Preferred Lines YouTube channel. I would really appreciate that. It takes you 2 seconds. You can hop in the chat. You can say hello. You can ask a question to myself or the guest that I am about to bring on now to the show. Welcoming back to Preferred Lines this week. He oversees the 100 Greatest Courses panel over at Golf Digest. He is a managing editor over at Golf Digest, host of the weekly The Loop Pod. Episode for this week is already out now, and it's a banger with Ben Griffin. Established voice in golf media now, but a true D-gen at heart. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the show. A good friend of mine, Steve Hennessey. What's up, Steve?
Yo, what's up, Joe? That was a very accurate description, except an established voice. That just means I'm a little older. But I've been here almost 15 years at Golf Digest, so it's crazy. But always pumped to chat a little golf betting with you. That's really the favorite thing I do at Golf Digest, overseeing all of our betting content.
You're doing a great job of it, as well as doing the course stuff. We talked a little bit briefly. You're starting to do some more camera work, some more on-screen stuff, debuting some courses in the new one that they're opening up over at Stream Song. Terrific work as always. The stuff on the Loop is awesome. I've seen you on the VSiN channel with the guys over there, but now you're here, and I got to ask you, out of pretty much nowhere, Steve, we get a dominant desert dog performance out of Thomas Detry. A new man, apparently adept at closing the deal over the Waste Management Phoenix Open. My boy Baroff had a great tweet that said Detry turned into Sunday Mahomes, and Sunday Mahomes turned into Sunday Detry this past yesterday. But I had a few hunting dogs in the race that I felt pretty good about, but I got to give credit where it's due. The guy had a nervy lead and shot the round of the day on Sunday to win by a touchdown. What'd you make of Tommy Dietz?
Yeah, I think most of us were waiting for him to, let the field come back to him a little bit. And Waste Management, I mean, that's a course we typically see some fireworks on the back nine, and some guys get really hot with those par fives and the closing stretch there. You can make up 5 shots over those last 5 or 6 holes. We've seen it, and Detry didn't let him do it. He put his foot down as soon as Berger pitched in and, saved par there on 14. It was lights out, birdies to finish. So, and Jim Nantz said it closing the stretch, like, this looks like the guy we're going to see more in 2025. And, we're all victims of being hyperbolic when one of these guys goes on a stretch. But I mean, I bet him for the Masters, during that back nine, he was 150 to 1. He's down to 80 to 1. I don't know if that's a good bet or not. He'll probably miss the cut. He hasn't played it before, but it just feels like he has that potential. We've known that from watching his game. He has the shots. It was really impressive, his performance, and given his history struggling down the stretch, maybe this is a new Thomas Detry going into the rest of the year.
Yeah, guys, very first PGA Tour win, never even won on the DP World Tour. Thomas Peters walked so Thomas Detry could run. First out, shout out to Belgium for their first ever PGA Tour winner. He said after, I believe, the second round, he finally caved and took his wife's advice to hire a sports psychologist. And you could see the difference that it made for him. Heavily credited, like utilizing some meditation tactics, pre-round cold plunge my boy did before his final round on Sunday. Whatever it was, the guy found a formula that worked for him. And I was impressed, Steve, with how fast and aggressive he played. Fast and fearless, Thomas Detry. It was almost like they would pan over to a shot and he was like mid-swing by the time the camera cut to him. The shot he hit on 11, I don't know if he was trying to go for that pin, but the hardest hole on the golf course that he ended up birdieing. The shot on 16 was insane. Don't know that we've ever seen a better one out of a leader on the 16th hole. And then aggressive enough to just got up there, and I think he pulled driver on 17. They really didn't even have enough time to show what club he had. Either way, he hit it to the front of the green, birdied his last 4 holes. I loved how fast he played. He did not overthink anything. And like you said, I think it's a tactic and a formula that could lead to some success for Detry moving forward.
Yeah, it's like a little bit of what Oberg we're used to seeing with him is, he just gets up to the ball and hits it. And, he was hitting it as long and straight as Oberg does. So, it'll be fun to see what else is in store for him this year.
How about Continental Europe, man? Starting the season off hot. Straka, Rasmus was right there, was super impressive. You got Bobby Mack, who was playing great, who's now got a little bit of Ryder Cup experience, who starts off the season hot. Now you have Thomas Detry. I feel like there's so many guys playing well right now for them that some guys like Matt Fitzpatrick should be worried. Tommy Fleetwood, who knows? If these guys knock off a couple of more wins, hell, even Victor Hovland could have a little bit of concern heading into Bethpage with how he's playing. Continental Europe looks stacked right now. I think they've knocked off 4 of the first 6 tournaments. USA eligible players only have 1 win to start the 25 season. You concerned for Bethpage at all, or they got plenty of time to get it right?
Europe is playing their flag, that's for sure. You had Aaron Ride also to end last year was hot. It seems like, after Whistling Straits, it seemed pretty ominous for Europe. Maybe this next decade was going to be an American run of dominance, but they obviously changed that with the last Ryder Cup. And they're establishing the back half of the team. We know how great Rory and Rahm and the rest of the top half of Team Europe is, but the back half is what was a question mark. And with the way they've started this year, if you had Detry and the Hogard twins and Straka, you're putting them against who, like Patrick Cantlay, the Justin Thomases of the world. It's kind of a fair fight, at least going into Bethpage.
Vic better get it going, man, or else he's their guy, but at this point, it's iffy on whether he's going to make it on points. He's going to need a captain's pick to probably get in. I think he gets it going in time, though. A little bit about the coverage, because I've spent more time than I care to admit on this program right here critiquing the golf broadcasts and how golf looks to us on a television screen on Mondays. I think CBS is kind of killing it to start the year. JT in the booth was gold. was talking start lines. He was talking losing money to Berger on the regular. Guy kind of literally walks the walk. You know, he sent a letter a few weeks ago encouraging players to do more of this stuff. And when he did it, I thought that he did a really commendable job. And I think the entire team at CBS, you can feel like a comfort level with them, whether it's Nance or whether it's Colt or whether it's Amanda. It all seems to flow together nicely. And I think that they've done an excellent job the past couple of weeks covering golf, showing us golf shots, and being great on the mic as well.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think Pebble especially, they did a great job using all this tech, you know, the drone footage and also the TrackMan and showing, you know, where the shots were projected to land. I mean, you know, that's stuff that shouldn't be that hard in 2025, but we weren't really seeing it up until this year. So I think CBS really listened to all the feedback that folks like us were given on golf Twitter. And, you know, Colt Knost and Amanda Balionis are on golf Twitter. They're paying attention. They're, you know, of our generation. They're giving that feedback to the higher ups at CBS. And I think they're listening. You know, Jim Nance knows to trust the younger generation to kind of lead the broadcast. Trevor Immelman's great. So is Mark Immelman. So I think it's a great team effort. They're combining some of the tech and really digging into just showing the golf. I mean, it's not that hard, you would think, in a golf broadcast just to show the golf, but they're also adding in this tech that's adding to the experience. I think it's gone really well for them so far.
It's getting better. Props to you, CBS. Where else do we want to talk about? Another fashion forward week on the PGA Tour. We get the Realtree kit from Ricky Fowler. You know, interesting look there, but I appreciate these different brands, whether it's Puma, whether it's Malbon with Jason Day, taking chances, because we see the amount of traction and the engagement that it gets, particularly online when these players wear something. And you have the polar opposite. I kind of ripped the look that Under Armour threw on Jordan Spieth yesterday in a big moment. You give him a hat that no one over the age of 12 is going to possibly buy. But, you know, listen, this is a fast track to get your guys noticed, is to put them in something provocative. You want a sponsor's exemption? Like, give them a crafty, provocative outfit, it feels like, because it's not the personalities that are shining through. Like Ricky in covering TGL doesn't necessarily have a whole lot to say. Jason Day doesn't have a whole lot to say. Certainly nothing personality-wise like Jordan Spieth on the mic. But you put him in these outfits, people talk about him, people want to see him the next week. What's your go-to on-course style, Steve Hennessey? Are you more of a traditionalist, or are you willing to take some chances out there when you tee it up?
I mean, look at me. I'm wearing an Augusta hoodie from Peter Millar. I mean, that's like as much of a chance that I'm really going to take. You're not going to see me in any camouflage going out to the course. You're also not going to see me in a sweatsuit from Malbon. But people are talking about it. I mean, to your point, those things have been the number one engage with pieces on Golf Digest, whether it's stuff on our website, social media. I mean, people are either ripping it, and that's great for engagement. That's great for those brands, or, you know, they're loving it. I think it goes both ways, and Malbon's really figured that out. Like they just want people to be talking about their stuff. It's not for me. I'm, you know, the 35-year-old dad who's, you know, typically playing at nicer clubs. I'm not going to walk in with a jumpsuit, but that's okay. I'm going to wear my, you know, Holderness and Bourne and Peter Millar and B. Dratty, and, you know, just be comfortable, you know, rocking the typical golf attire. You know, I thought it was edgy to wear a hoodie on the golf course. It was like 2 or 3 years ago. Now it's like, come on.
Everybody's got one.
Yeah. So
what was the coolest? You were at the PGA show a couple of weeks ago. What was the coolest apparel brand activation that you saw at the PGA show, would you say? Like who was getting, what was your favorite one? I also want to know, like, what was getting the most crowd? Like, where were people gravitating towards and seemed to have the most poppin' booth?
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't typically go over to the apparel side too much. Like the trade show floor is so big and so massive, and like, you know, the apparel sort of is what it is. You know, I would say the brands that you would expect, you know, the Malbon guys, the Eastside Golf, that was probably where the most people and the attention went toward. I think they've really hit on a niche in golf, and they've been uber successful. You see celebrities all the time rocking their stuff. I don't think I'm cool enough to be rocking that stuff yet. I'll stick with my more traditional stuff, but there's definitely a vibe coming to golf that, it's like the Vice golf stuff. It's getting cooler faster. And I think like 10 years ago, those sort of brands were at the PGA show and they were sort of looked down upon in a way. It's like, what are you doing trying to do that kind of stuff? Like, that's not what golf is about. 10 years ago wasn't that long ago. Now that's like not just accepted. That's like the norm is, you're pushing the limit. All these brands are doing really cool stuff. Seamus had this really cool golf drink that I wrote about. It's just like, it's innovation, but it's already happening. If you're not with it already, you're being left behind. So it's impressive, really, as someone who's gone to the PGA show like 10, 15 years, it just keeps getting more innovative.
Shout out True Linkswear, supporters of this program. I think they had an awesome booth. I think they have the most comfortable shoes you can wear on the golf course.
I agree.
They're sick. You got any Trues?
I do. Yeah. I wear them just like, going to the office today. I was wearing True Linkswear. It's perfect off the course, on the course, free ad for True Linkswear.
I wear them to TGL just because it's like, they've got a couple pairs that feel a little like dressy, but it's still golf, but it's not like cheesy. It's not like I'm wearing like some old school like foot joys out there. You know what I mean?
100%.
Shout out True. You watching Live After Dark this week? I'm almost embarrassed to say, I went to look for it once. I couldn't find it. As someone who has covered Live through the first couple of seasons, I just couldn't drum up enough interest to watch a single minute of this weekend. Where were you at with it?
Yeah, I definitely wanted to. I'm with you. I thought about it a few times and looked for it and it wasn't on. And I think because it was sort of a runaway going into it, like, if it was Bryson and Rahm and Koepka near the top, I would have found a way to watch it. But, and that's to take nothing away from the finish. It looked pretty interesting. Rahm made it interesting at the end. But, I'll definitely be paying attention in future weeks. But, sort of off my radar a little bit.
Yeah, I always pick it up a little bit like as we head into Augusta because I kind of want to see how those guys are playing. FS2, I don't know about this move for them. I don't even have FS2. Like, I think more people have and know where to find the CW than know where to find FS2. YouTube TV doesn't have it. You needed the app, like you said. It mentioned it was kind of a runaway. So ashamed to say I caught none of it, even though some of my favorite players play over on that tour.
Yeah,
I wanted to ask you real quickly, Steve, about TGL, something I've obviously been into, something I've kind of been covering. I've seen a couple of guys there from Golf Digest over the week. What's, in terms of big golf journalism, big golf media, what's the thought process like from your guys' perspective on how to cover TGL in mainstream golf media? Like, take me inside the boardroom on what's going to go in this month's issue. Is TGL something that's like hot on your guys' list that there seems to be an audience and interest level for, or is it still something that you guys are skeptical of if it's going to draw enough interest to warrant like a big page ad in the magazine?
Yeah, probably a little of both. I mean, we're like, everyone is interested in it, and we want it to succeed because if it does, that's just good for golf. More eyeballs probably from the more casual fan. Like, we're always going to know what's going on with TGL. We're not necessarily the audience they're trying to draw in. But the numbers are really impressive on ESPN. It's on ESPN. That fact is, helping the numbers for sure. In the next issue of the magazine, we actually have a feature on team golf, kind of taking what Liv has done and TGL is also building upon. So yeah, it's definitely on our radar. We're covering it each week, even if it's, from afar. Our Slack chat is kind of blowing up a little bit during the TGL matches, mostly kind of jumping on stuff. The fact that
the group chats are electric, whether people are hating it, whether they're loving it, whether they're betting on it. Look, as someone who's covering it from kind of a betting perspective, I still don't know that there's an edge to be had. There are certain things that probably could be a little bit more dialed in, but keep in mind, when you rip TGL for, Tommy Fleetwood having to take a second shot, or maybe they're not using the best launch monitors that are picking up the proper spin. You bet the Super Bowl last night, and we were talking about 80-year-old men who are marking off lines, arbitrary lines. They're spotting balls. The block charge call in the NBA is highly subjective, whatever side of the fence you want to be on. Every sport has little flaws like this. So, if there's a couple of marks here and out in the match, doesn't mean you can't throw 20, 50, $100 on it and have a little fun. And I think that what's generally been the most thing that has caught me by surprise is how into it the players are.
Mhm.
Like that Jupiter team rallying a couple of weeks ago against Boston, like those guys were so excited after that match and so into it. The LA team seemed to have a ton of continuity. Like Justin Rose is all about it, dude. Colin Morikawa is all about it. Seeing these guys when it was Horschel and JT and Cantlay, like they are loving the experience of it. They're loving the camaraderie of it. You can make fun of the team names and why aren't these guys from this place at all? But those players have formed the bond and they're kind of all in on it. And that's what I think has resonated most with me over the first month or so.
Yeah, and I think they really do love playing as a team. They never get to do that. And when they win and they get to celebrate that with each other, like it's a great feeling. And there's these franchise owners as well, all these big names.
Yeah,
they're getting a lot of feedback from them. And the thing is, when they lose, they have to stand up there and answer questions from folks like you who are at the losers press conference and face the music a little bit. And as a team, you kind of have to look at each other in the eye and say, what could we have done wrong? So, yeah, I think, there's definitely some buzz around it. I'm excited to see where it goes. I would like to see them lean into the betting a little bit. Our guy Stewart has done a great job, covering everything from a betting perspective, but the TV broadcast could do a better job, setting up some of when they get to the singles matches, setting up the lines, leaning into that part of it. Cause we've had these runaway matches, but if you knew we were going to get, Rory versus Tommy Fleetwood and you could bet on it, even if the score was lopsided during the team part of it, you might stick around. Oh, I'm going to put, $50 on Rory to beat Fleetwood. They don't touch on that enough. And I don't know if that's them being uncomfortable going into the betting crowd, which is unfortunate. ESPN has ESPN Bet, FanDuel is the official betting partner. So I think that gets better because folks like Keith Stewart are there telling them that's, a big potential path for them, especially on a Tuesday, Wednesday night when football's not on. People want to bet on something, and this is on ESPN. People want to bet on it. They just have to make it easier to digest from a betting perspective. So I think they'll get there. The bones are there, and it'll only improve in year 2.
I'm in there asking the hard hitters, Steve.
I know you are. You're blowing up. It's great.
The guy turned around. I think it was Golf. He works for Golf Week and writes for the Palm Beach Post too. He's been there every week. He turns around to be asked, or I asked that question to Rory, and he's like, I can't believe you asked him that. And I was like, I got nothing to lose in there, man. Listen, I've been there I'm not throwing softballs like how'd you feel tonight on the greens and how was the crowd out there? I got stuff in my notes. I'm ready to ask something I want an answer to.
Needs that. They need a little kick in the ass. So I'm glad you're providing it.
Thanks, brother. All right, let's shift gears and talk a little golf course. Torrey Pines South this week we get for the first time hosting the Genesis Invitational. Due to the wildfires in Greater LA, we are going back to Torrey. Second time in a month, third signature event of this season. The South course will play the host only this week. Stretches 7,700 yards. Of course, making that the longest golf course on the PGA Tour Rota. To add to the difficulty and long, demanding holes, greens are tiny. Greens are slopey. Greens are that pesky POA grass that gives people fits, and the rough is thick like it was about a month ago. I would expect they keep it around 4 inches. It's going to be thick. They may even make it a little bit more difficult this week, albeit scoring average a few weeks ago was 73.69, which ranks as the toughest scoring average of any course over the past year. 5 of the last 6 years, this course is ranked in the top 8 in toughest courses on tour out of about 50. Those fairways are narrow. They are slices of bacon. They are straight. You got to drive it well because they're under 30 yards on average. 7 par 4s, over 450 yards. 4 par 5s again this week, all over 560, 2 of them 600 plus. Greens in regulation I have always really tough to hit, and that percentage is typically down at Torrey Pines South course, which in turn makes the around the green play pivotal. And understanding missing on the correct side here, strategic. Like, I think it gets underplayed a little bit at Torrey because I think a lot of people see it as a bit of a monotonous test of, a repeated question and answer segment of the same question being asked over and over again. But there is a lot of strategy that goes involved on missing the correct side. And Harris English said it best after his win. I didn't hit the ball great, but missed it in the right spots and was able to lean on my short game. I think that is very telling of this path to success around Torrey Pines, because you're not going to hit all these greens. You're not going to hit all these fairways, but you have to leave yourself in a position to get up and down around these greens and then take advantage of the par 5s, which is key. Anything that you have, Steve, from just memory or historical notes that you have to add on Torrey South?
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad you're touching on the strategy a little bit on Torrey Pines, because it just gets ripped on social media. And, I get it. It is a monotonous test, but it does usually identify one of the best players of the week, if not the best. And I think that's what we want in a tournament golf course. I think it's a great tournament test, whether it's the U.S. Open, the Farmers, and this week the Genesis. I think, middle iron play, long iron play, that's sort of the biggest thing I'm looking at. The scrambling, obviously huge too. We've seen different paths to the leaderboard in terms of off the tee play. Either you're really long and you just have a ton of club head speed and you can dig it out of this rough, or you're, really accurate off the tee and, you have to hit your longer irons well if you're not as long. So there are a couple different ways to succeed here, which is kind of cool. But the strategy, like we saw from Harris English, is big. I'm leaning on, the approach play for sure. And long par 4s time after time again. So, it is a repeatable test, but, it's a venue that people love because of Tiger Woods winning here. And, even though golf Twitter kind of takes a crap on it a lot of times, it's still somewhere that a lot of people want to go play.
I think there's a difference between a good PGA Tour host course and a
Correct.
good golf course. Like, is Torrey in your guys' top 100?
No, I think
Is it
it's
even
top
consideration?
200. Yeah, I think it's like 4th or 5th in California in terms of public places. It's like 250 or so. It continues to fall off. I think that's like sort of because of the trend in modern architecture. People like options. This doesn't really present you many options. But it's somewhere where people want to go play, I think. So.
Yeah. Well, even last week, I think is a great example of this. Like, I'm sure TPC Scottsdale is not in your top 100.
No, it is not.
No, not even close.
No.
But I think a lot of people think it's one of the most electric PGA Tour stops on tour. Like, I saw, and I just pulled it up because I bookmarked it yesterday because I wanted to ask you about it. My guy Flushing It, a little controversial on Twitter sometimes, but he had this tweet that I bookmarked yesterday. I kind of like the dude, actually. I haven't had him on the show before, but I would. Waste Management. Here's this tweet. Waste Management is a huge success every year, providing iconic moments. Why? He lists 4 things. Packed crowd and authentic atmosphere.
Mm-hmm.
Good golf course and setup. Full field. Genuine and intense competition. The blueprint is staring everyone right in the face. Well, is it? Because full field, yes, I think that is the blueprint to a great tournament. Genuine and intense competition, of course. Packed crowd and authentic atmosphere, yes, but that's not like a blueprint that's repeatable for every tournament on the PGA Tour, what they're able to do at Scottsdale. But good golf course and setup. I'm like, is this a good golf course and setup? Like, as someone who does this for a living and reviews golf courses, what is it about a place that makes TPC Scottsdale like an electric tournament with tons of excitement and drama but maybe isn't considered by those who review them as a quote unquote good course?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think the finish, especially, like pretty much every PGA Tour fan could tell you that stretch from 13 on. You know those holes because they've created these iconic moments. 14 is a great par four. I've had a chance to walk out there. Just an insanely hard par four. I mean, these guys are making it look easy now. It used to be like a 5 or 6 iron into a really tough green uphill, really elevated. Those guys were hitting eight and 9 irons yesterday. It was crazy. But these par fives toward the finish, I think that's why we love Augusta too. Yeah. The finish, it creates these fireworks. And I think TPC Scottsdale has a little of that. You have the chance. There's great risk reward holes toward the finish. I think the middle of the course kind of all blends together. I couldn't really tell you many of those holes on the front and first part of the back nine. The fourth hole is a really good par 3. That green, repels shots that aren't, properly placed. But yeah, I think testing folks' moxie is really what TPC Scottsdale does well. That's why we see some guys collapse, hidden into the water. And that's why we see guys rise to the occasion and, finish with a 5 under stretch through the last 4 or 5 holes, because it has that potential. And I think that's what makes a great tournament venue. That's not necessarily what makes a great golf course, but I think it delivers time and time again every year.
Yeah. And for me, I think what makes it a great PGA Tour golf course is inherent variance provided on these holes, not necessarily different varying degrees of holes, but the possibilities that can happen on every hole, from eagle to double bogey. When you look at someone like Scotty Scheffler, who goes out in 31, heads to the quote unquote easier 9 and shoots 41 on the back. Like, there are not many golf courses on the planet where that's even within the realm of possibility for someone of Scotty Scheffler's ability level to make these doubles. You get situations like you see with Spieth up against a bush and he's going out with a putter. Like, this type of intricacies in the golf course, the risk reward over water, the drivable par 4 late on the course with water to the left, I think is what ultimately makes it a great course for PGA Tour tournaments. They make it the most exciting for television, but you're right. I think that there has to be a differentiating factor between good golf course and good PGA Tour tournament host venue.
Yeah. I think the best golf courses, have that variety throughout the round. And, the routing is something you'll always remember, like Pebble Beach. If I'm struggling to fall asleep, sometimes I'd play Pebble Beach in my head. You could just,
you're a nut.
I'm a golf fan for sure. And that's actually true. I do that all the time. Like, that routing, and, that's a hallmark of great golf courses is, just a great routing, a great use of the land. TPC Scottsdale is, repeatable. And the type of challenge that it is presented is again kind of monotonous. But there's decent variability toward the end of the round. And I think you're right that the variance and what Scheffler did kind of proves that on the back nine. So
yeah. All right, boys and girls, let's get into my model this week for over on the rabbit hole. Genesis Generator, we called it this week. Promo code TOURPICS, get you 25% off any subscription over at the rabbit hole. I would recommend the annual. It's like $5 a week. Comes down to like $3.50 if you use my promo code. My model, as well as the models from many others in the industry, PGA tout, Matt Vincenzi, Ryan Noonan, Steve Shermer, Andy Lack, are all available there if you don't feel like building your own. And mine freaking killed it last week. Had Detry up there, had Berger up high, Smalley up high, McNeely up high. Here's who I got this week. Steve, let me know if you agree or disagree with any of these guys. Top 10 in my model: Scotty Scheffler, number 1, Rory, number 2, Colin, number 3. Adam Scott makes an appearance at number 4 in the model. Russ Henley, not quite sure how Russ got up there, but Tommy Fleetwood at 6, Hideki at 7, Sung Jae, Taylor Pendrith, and my guy Danny Berger back at 10. Let's see where Russ Henley did his damage. Russ Henley ranks 8th in strokes gained tee to green on long, difficult golf courses. A little bit surprising there. He's really just not burying himself anywhere. Also top 7 in terms of bogey avoidance, but I think it has the most robust offering of filters and different elements that you can put into your stat model over at the Rabbit Hole. Taylor Pendrith really popping, and a lot of the off the tee stuff. Torrey course history. Daniel Berger was unbelievable last week off the tee. I think that he's fully back. We get a good number again this week. We'll talk about in a minute, but I think that he's trending toward a win. And then you get Adam Scott. Adam Scott, savvy around the green, number 2 in the last 36 round. Strokes gained total at Torrey South, he's top 4. Those are my top 10 this week, Steve. Anyone that sticks out there to you before we get to the odds board?
I mean, Adam Scott at 4 sticks out for sure, because I'm sure his number is nice, probably 80, 90 to 1, something like that. Henley is someone too who I was thinking about, just looking at the odds, first thing Monday, he was like 60 to 1. He contended at the US Open here in 2021.
Yes.
He's someone who's incredibly accurate off the tee, and he's really stepped up in terms of class, the type of golfer he is. The middle irons, the approach play is always stout with him. He's just super consistent. So, even though we think of him as someone who contends on a shorter course like a Wyndham or a Sony Open, I'm not surprised to see him up there. Hideki is an interesting one because the last couple of weeks, he's just kind of fallen off. Obviously, you're looking back at a larger sample size. So I'm curious what you'll do with Hideki because, it just seems like maybe he's hitting a little bit of a rut after the big win, and he's struggling a little bit the last couple weeks.
Yeah, you worry about the endurance with Hideki. Let's go to the odds board and let's see who we got on betting the board. Top of the board, no surprise this week at the Genesis Invitational. We have Scotty Scheffler plus 425. Best number available, a little bit better than last week. Rory plus 750. Colin Morikawa 16 to 1. Justin Thomas 20 to 1. Ludwig 22 to 1. Hideki 25 to 1. Cantlay at 30 to 1. Those are the top of the board, Steve. I'm just going to knock it out right out of the way. I took Hideki Matsuyama, even though, like you mentioned, some of the trending stuff, particularly off the tee, is going in the opposite direction that you'd want. Do I worry about he's playing a lot of golf early in the season? Yes, but he's hitting it so well. Still top 3 in approach over the last 30 rounds. Of course, defending champion here, albeit that was, of course, at Riviera Country Club. But I think there's some exterior similarities in terms of the Kikuyu rough, the tougher greens, the difficult tests, the challenging scoring conditions, of course, California. But he's really been able to excel on tee to green on these long, difficult scoring tests. 3rd in my model there, 2nd in bogey avoidance, likely because he's such a sound scrambler and chipper around the greens. Gained strokes tee to green in all 5 starts this year. His numbers at the Farmer were very similar, actually, in a strokes gained perspective, tee to green, that they were when he won the Century. So they were very almost identical. The only difference was he putted pretty well at the Century. He did not putt very well at Torrey Pines last time, albeit he's made 9 straight cuts at the Farmers, gained in all 9 of them. He plays pretty well here. I'm still going to trust the form. I'm still a believer that you look at all these guys on the odds board, and every time they open up the odds every week, Steve, I'm like, Hideki feels like he's at a discount, right? Because of his win ratio over the last 3 years, because of his top end talent, because he has the ability, no matter what the field, if he brings his A game, he has the ability to go nuclear on any golf course and boat race the competition. And that's what I love, particularly in a signature event, about Hideki Matsuyama. He's good at the start of the season in California as well. He's my top pick at 25 to 1. Any thoughts there, or who is your top pick if you don't have anything on Hideki?
Yeah, Hideki just continues to get the disrespect. That makes sense. He made a good case for him. I'm tempted by Oberg because I was on him at the Farmers and I was feeling pretty good going into the weekend. And, by all accounts, he was struggling with the stomach bug, still was at Pebble, then withdrew. So, if I bet him at the Farmers, I feel like I kind of have to go back to him. His number is double what it is because the field is much better here. I just feel like he fits this course so well. Yeah, to a T with the total driving and really everything, the approach play, the long irons. So, what I worry about with him are the missed putts he had at Torrey over the weekend. I mean, they looked pretty bad. And if you look at the putting data, it's not great. He's losing, over the last 30, 36 rounds. So I haven't made the bet yet, but at 22-1, I'm pretty tempted.
Yeah, I'm tempted as well. I need to add someone else to the top. I was between Ludwig, and I'm also considering a guy I never normally bet, but there's the 30 was the best price I just mentioned. I've seen 35s on Pat Cantlay, a guy who I normally think, difficult course. I like Pat. California, I like Pat. A course that often rewards a guy who can get a hot putter and a clutch putter like we saw for Harris English. I mean, how many 6-footers with confidence did Harris English bang home a month ago? I like Pat in those conditions. He rates out really well in my stat model. You look at like the lack of top 10s, and when's the last time you can remember a Sunday afternoon where it felt like Patrick Cantlay was up near the top with a chance to win the tournament? It feels like it's been a while, but I'm intrigued by a price, particularly when it starts with a 3. And if you can get to 35 on Cantlay, is always going to catch my eye a little bit.
Yeah, he was quietly there at the Amex, never really threatened Sepp Straka at all.
True.
But, T5, and his name was at the top of the leaderboard the entire time. He just didn't do much. He was a little down on my model. I trust your model a lot more, Joe. But yeah, I feel like I need to see it a little more, to your point. I need to see him like in the thick of contention. We just haven't seen that enough. So, the number is nice. I get it. I just want to see a little bit more from him before I invest.
All right, mid-range here. Sung J M played pretty well. Been kind of inconsistent, but really good here. I think 4th place at the Farmers a few weeks ago. I think he steps up his game typically on courses that require more long iron play than wedge play, which is something that Torrey definitely offers. Jordan Spieth, awesome to see him back in contention, is back at 40-1. You have Erasmus there at 40-1, Pendy there at 40-1, Fleetwood 40, Finau 40, Jason Day 45, Bobby Mack 45, Sam Burns 45, Shane Lowry right around that price, Will Zalatoris, Tom Kim, Mav McNeely, Sepp Straka, Victor Hovland, all the names basically sub 50-1 and in. Who do you got in the mid?
Yeah, I think Lowry is interesting. Played great at Pebble, and someone who always excels on a difficult golf course. He misses in the right spots. His scrambling could really bail him out. His approach play has been really good the last 36 rounds. So Lowry is a bet for me at 45. And Bobby Mack also, he just continues to impress me. I wouldn't necessarily think TPC Scottsdale would be a great fit for his game, but he's kind of proven that his game will travel to any sort of venue. So
Totally agree.
Both of those guys are bets for me at 45-1.
Love that. Always appreciate that take on Bobby Mack. I agree with you. I think that he's got a very high ceiling for this year, showing up to golf courses where you wouldn't necessarily think are the best course fit and still contending is a big move. I took a 45-1 on Taylor Pendrith. Just couldn't ignore the form, really, Steve. It feels like a short price for him, but his last 5 starts are 8th, 13th, 45th, 7th at the Farmers a few weeks ago, and then 9th at Pebble. He's 2nd in strokes gained tee to green a few weeks ago when they had the Farmers Insurance Open here. Dominant guy, a beast off the tee right now. Top 5 in carry distance, top 5 in total driving. Where he struggles throughout his career historically is around the green and chipping. He's not the best short game guy. Although I'm encouraged because you look at his around the green numbers at Torrey a few weeks ago, and he was 2nd in the entire field in strokes gained around the green. Maybe his style of chipping aligns with these turf conditions. Maybe he's a little bit more comfortable chipping out of the Kikuyu with his club setups. But I know that he's number 1 in par 5 scoring over the last 40 rounds, which to me is a key to unlocking a good round at Torrey. If you can go -3 at -4 over the par 5s, you are setting yourself up much better for success in the long term. Also, I mentioned a good finish here a couple of weeks ago, top 10 here in 2024. Clearly, it's a spot with the long, demanding, off the tee ability that fits with his skill set. Trending form, I can't overlook, particularly on this course. Short price, but I took the 45-1 and bid on Pendrith.
Yeah, I think we see guys with just a ton of club head speed excel here. And, if he misses a fairway, he's able to chop it out of this rough. So, yeah, totally on board with Pendy as well.
Moving to some bombs, we got Detry back here at 55-1, Keegan 60, Henley 60, Adam Scott 70-1, Benny On, Cam Young, Harris English back after winning here a few weeks ago at 70-1. Wyndham Clark, I thought I had a great pin on Wyndham Clark at 80-1 last week, first round leader, shows up at the same price again this week. Thought I had a good one on Akshay Bhatia last week at 80-1. He played really well, back at the same price this week. JT Poston is here. There's a ton of guys. Basically, I'll open it up, Steve, to anyone, on the rest of the board in a small field event. You got one or two sort of guys in this long shot range that you think are worthy of a bet?
Yeah, Akshay was top 10 for me. Looking at some of the stats, he avoids bogeys well. Total driving, he excels. Really good scrambler, 5th over the last 30 rounds. Really good putter on POA as well. Yeah. And the 200 to 225 yard range. He's a really good long iron player. So I was on him last week. There's no way I'm getting off that train. Cam Davis is another one way down the board. I think he's like 120, 125. We've seen his fellow Aussie guys, Adam Scott.
Great lineage here.
Yeah, Mark Leishman, Jason Day, obviously.
Jason Day, two-time winner.
Yeah, I think his approach play, his off the tee game, really suit well for Torrey. So I'm on Cam Davis as well.
Okay, I'm highly considering Adam Scott for a lot of those same Aussie reasons. Fourth in my model is pretty tough for me to turn down a 75-80-1 when he pops that high. Coming off a T22 at Pebble Beach, but really he had the round of the day on Sunday, 64 at Pebble. Top 5 putter on any greens over the last 30 rounds. Top 5 putter over the last 30 rounds on POA specifically. So the short game is really there. 4th in strokes gained total at Torrey. You mentioned some of the Aussie lineage. Guys just having success early in the season during this California swing. But the two I'll give you right now before the card comes out on Wednesday. Danny Berger, 80-1. Listen, guys, we ain't getting this price for much longer. When we go to Mexico next week, if he plays, he's going to be like 18-1. When we get to the Cognizant, he's going to be like 17-1. You're not going to get 80-1s on Dan Berger much better because the dude is back. I talked about it for the last couple of weeks. Rumors are rampant in Palm Beach County about Dan Berger tearing up the Dive Preserve. Led the field in driving accuracy at the Waste Management Phoenix Open and averaged 315 off the tee. That little low bullet fairway finder that he somehow manages to hit over 300 yards is a weapon. Yeah. Gained 12.5 tee to green. Just could never really get the putter going last week. Another thing about Berger is he plays pretty well in California. 4th in strokes gained total on all California courses. Of course, you had the win at Pebble Beach. Like I mentioned, historically, you just don't think of him as a great off-the-tee guy when you think Daniel Berger, but extremely reliable right now. The approach play is improving. Amazing, Steve, what you can do when you stop playing irons that are 20 years old from your high school days and embrace some of the modern day cheat codes in the golf clubs that are built in 2025. But 2 second place finishes in his last 5 starts, obviously last week, and then a second place at the RSM. Brutal. The thing is, this is why you're getting the price. Brutal course history at the Farmers, misses almost every cut, but I'm banking on him, just like I mentioned, taking the good number and what I feel like a guy who is trending that I see coming for a big year. And I think maybe the last spot you can get him at a big price. The other one I took is 125-1 on a guy who's kind of a stud in California. I'm talking about old man Justin Rose. Mm-hmm. One of the things I picked up at TGL. Here's your TGL correlation to why I'm betting a guy, Brian Kirshner, for a PGA Tour win. But the guys go through a pretty extensive warm up, and they're on TrackMans, and it basically gives you all the data: spin rate, club head speed, carry, total distance, and they're all hitting drivers. One of the things I was surprised, Steve, considerably more ball speed and distance than Colin Morikawa, than Tommy Fleetwood, two guys on his team. Old man Justin Rose is got better ball speed. He's hitting it further than those guys still today. 17th in this field in carry distance over the last 15 rounds.
Wow.
Poa, by far and away his best putting surface. 2 top threes in his last 5 PGA Tour starts. Obviously at Pebble a few weeks ago, and then a T2 going back to the Open Championship. I think it's a benefit to him for the Genesis being played at Torrey Pines, where won here in 2019, T6 in 2022, T4 in 2017, T8 in 2018. Guy kind of eats this place up, and he was always really bad at Riviera Country Club. Also has won and plays great historically at Pebble Beach. Justin Rose, 125-1. Guy's playing good golf right now. Guy's very comfortable with where his current state of his game is. And, the odds of a 100-1 plus guy winning a signature event, as we know, are very small. But I think Rose holds a small percentage of win equity on this type of golf course in California right now on February the 10th in 2025.
Yeah, I mean, you back that up with the top 5, top 10. We would not be surprised to see him, front page of the leaderboard on Sunday. So if he's live to win, you trust him to be able to get it done. He didn't fade at Pebble either. So yeah, I like that. I'm sort of rooting for Berger. I mean, if you're betting him, I'll root for him to win, but I'm sort of rooting for him to, fully eject to give us a good price at the Cognizant, because I really think he could win that. Give us like a 30-35-1 at the Cognizant.
Oh,
we're gonna
hammer time.
Oh yeah.
I'm interested to see if he'll play Mexico too, because how did he get into this field? Did he get the exemption because of his finish last week? Because I don't think he was previously in on the top 50. I wonder if he got Spieth's spot because Spieth qualified now. I don't know, but I know like a week ago he wasn't in, and then I saw him in this field. I'm like, okay, I got to take him.
Yeah, this is kind of the the bad news about all the changes to the PGA Tours. Like, you don't really know anymore. There's the Aon top 5. There's the fall. He probably got in from his fall finish, to be honest.
Yeah, he's probably in the Aon. Yeah, because of the RSM second place and then another second. So
yeah.
Steve, awesome to have you on the show. Always good to catch up with you, my friend. The Loop was awesome this week. What else do you have in terms of content coming out later this week, or what do you got cooking over at GD?
Yeah, you mentioned it. Going to be doing some more social videos in terms of new golf courses coming out, sort of my experiences playing golf. So everyone should go follow Golf Digest. I'm sure everyone does. Check out our expert picks, golfdigest.com, our DFS content, Andy Lack does, Keith Stewart's content. We're really digging into gambling. I mean, we've kind of already been dug in since 2018. It continues to be one of the best performing, content areas for us. So we're not going away. We're only doing more in that space. So, and we're talking Masters already. We have a preview meeting on the books. So yeah, I mean, it's here, it's coming. So we're excited for it.
Let's go, baby. Can't wait. The summer of golf will be quickly upon us. Obviously, all things covered in extensive level of Golf Digest. Spot ever opens up on that panel, man, you got to give me a shout.
I know it. You're my first call. Absolutely.
Let's go. Thank you so much, Steve, for being a part of Preferred Lines again. Best of luck to you this week. We'll catch you next time, brother.
Thanks, Joe.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for hanging with me on this show. Make sure to like, subscribe, tell a friend on the way out, leave a comment to let me know that you were here, and I'll try to give you a thumbs up. I know that there was a fella. Let me look him up here. Let me just look him up. I know that I owe you a t-shirt. Okay. Travis, Altoona, PA, Travis. I got it right here. I've got to go over to the post office, Travis, which is a big problem for me because I'm not a big post office guy. I will get that in the mail to you. More giveaways coming soon. TGL content up later this week. I'll have previews for the massive President's Day 3-match historic run of back-to-back-to-back on TGL. I will be there in person as well next week. Hope to catch you all later this week with some great content. Picks will be out Wednesday. Market Movers will be out Wednesday. It's been an honor once again on behalf of the entire Rotoballer team to bring you the Preferred Lines program. Good luck this week at the Genesis. Enjoy the third Siggy of the year. Let's nab another winner in 2025. I'm out of here. Peace.